Imagine this. You keep replaying the same thing in your mind. The mistake, the rejection, the moment everything went wrong. And even though you know you should let go, you can't. The mind doesn't just remember pain. It feeds on it. Here's a truth almost no one admits. Your brain wasn't made to make you happy. It was made to keep you alive. And suffering is its favorite weapon. Every time you dwell on pain, on guilt, on the past, your brain feels in control. It thinks, I'm ready for danger. That's why the mind loves to suffer. In suffering, it feels safe. You grew up believing pain is a signal that something's wrong. But in reality, it's just a habit. Your nervous system has adapted to anxiety, like someone gets used to the noise of a big city. When everything's quiet, it feels like something's wrong. Insight 1. The comfort of chaos. The mind loves to return to pain because pain is familiar. Your brain prefers familiar suffering over unfamiliar peace. You hold on to what destroys you because you fear the emptiness that might follow. Example, you're in a relationship that hurts. You know it's time to leave, but everything inside you screams, stay. Maybe it'll change. That's not love. That's biology. Your brain simply doesn't know how to live without drama. Insight 2. The survival loop. Every time you suffer, your brain releases hormones of anxiety, and you feel alive. The paradox is that pain becomes a replacement for presence. You only feel real when you feel bad. Psychology confirms this. The brain doesn't distinguish danger from emotion. For it, everything is a stimulus and a reaction. So if you've grown used to pain, it becomes your background noise. And without it, life feels empty. Insight 3. The emotional drug. Suffering is chemistry. Your brain releases cortisol and then looks for a reason to release it again. You think you're analyzing the past, but in reality, you're just chasing another dose. You check if they replied. You stare into the mirror, searching for what's wrong. This isn't a search for truth. It's a mechanism of repetition. The brain wants to repeat familiar pain, to feel alive. Insight 4. False salvation. When you're in pain, the mind says, I need to figure this out. And you start digging, analyzing, explaining. But the truth is, it's not a search for answers. It's a form of control. The mind believes that if it understands, it will be safe. But it doesn't want resolution. It wants a cycle. You can't heal the mind with the mind, because it is the source of the illness itself. The mind doesn't save. It explains to avoid feeling, not to live through pain, but to loop it again. Insight 5. The way out. The first step is to realize that suffering isn't random. It's a habit. And like any habit, it dissolves through awareness. When you observe pain without reacting, you deprive the mind of its energy. You sit in silence. Your heart beats. Thoughts arise. You simply watch. No analysis, no struggle. And suddenly you realize between the thoughts, there is space. That's where freedom begins. The mind doesn't disappear. It calms down when it stops being the center. When you become the observer, not the victim of inner noise. Psychology calls it awareness. Philosophy calls it awakening. But the essence is the same. You stop identifying with pain. You see it, but you are no longer it. When you stop feeding pain with attention, it starves. And for the first time in a long while, it becomes quiet, not empty, quiet. In that silence, you begin to discern where the mind ends and where you begin. And suddenly, it becomes clear. Suffering was never punishment. It was a mirror. You were the one who created the loop. And now, you are the one who can break it. Not because you found the answer, but because you stopped searching for it. Pain is not your enemy. It's simply the mind's way of saying, look at me. And when you truly look, it loses its power. And all that remains is you. You're not the mind. You're the one who sees the mind. And in that, suffering ends. Because suffering doesn't disappear. You do as its source. And a new you is born. Calm, strong, aware. Remember, the mind loves to suffer, but you can love clarity. And when you choose it, the mind finally falls silent. And in that silence, you realize you were never weak. You were just too busy fighting yourself. Now, simply observe. Don't run. Don't chase. Let the mind play. You are the one who watches. And this is the way out of the loop. Because liberation was never about escaping the mind, but about seeing through it. And once you truly see, you'll never be trapped again.